become a monk, and that would always be Ajahn Brahm when he was a young boy. He'd always volunteer. And he'd sit on a rock, he said. He'd get a bit of brown rag somewhere and put it around him. And all his friends would go to their houses, and they'd get some cakes and food for him to eat. This is honest, this is what he said. And said from that day on, he always realized he wanted to become a monk one day. I'm sorry, but when you start thinking these old stories, they're really enjoyable stories. You know, why did I want to become a monk? Why did this person, this city Buddha want to become a monk? I know why I wanted to become a monk. It wasn't to eat. It was just you had a time in life when you thought it'd be a great thing to do. As already told you, I think, I was doing some meditation, getting some nice deep meditation. Had a steady girlfriend at the time, but kind of that couldn't last, especially when you get into some nice meditation. So that fell apart, and I thought, wow, I'm now at a stage in my life, I've got all the education, degrees, I'm fit, healthy, and let's take 2 years off to be a monk. And I thought, this is how stupid I was. I go to Thailand to become a monk, because in Thailand you can become a monk just for a couple of years. And I thought, I'll go to Thailand. I told all my friends this. I go to Thailand, get enlightened, get that out of the way, and then I can come back to London and carry on my career, get married, and just carry on my life. I had no idea what being a monk was like. I had no idea, what amazing things it would give me. It was just some kind of inspiration. Let's go over there and check it out. It's a wonderful thing you could do at that time of your life. I had no ties anywhere. So anyway, we went to Thailand. I think I mentioned already. Actually, what day is it today? Sorry? No, Wednesday. Wednesday the what? 22nd. Oh, missed it by a day. That was on October the 23rd, 74? 73, 74, 74. On October the 23rd. October the 24th. No, October the 23rd. Doesn't matter anyway. So that's when they gave me Samanera, novice ordination, 10 precepts. Precepts were easy to keep. I love keeping precepts. I kept them anyway, whether you ordained me or not. And then when I ordained as a novice, was ordained as a novice, I think I already mentioned to you, for me, that I had these nightmares the first 3 nights. On October the 23rd, 24th, 25th, those 3 evenings. Woke up in the middle of the night. And I, as a monk, I'm really honest. This is what happened. I didn't know why I had a nightmare. But then when I opened my eyes, I saw my brown robes folded next to me on the floor, because I slept on the floor. And I thought, wow, I'm a monk. It's kind of like you made it, like you won the lottery or you won the grand final in some competition. Wow, I made it. And I closed my eyes and fell fast asleep. Then woke up later on in the morning. That happened 2 days in a row, 3 days in a row. That kind of convinced me I really wanted to become a monk. I didn't know why, but it showed me there was something deep inside which made me always want to have this lifestyle. And even then, I would tell some of my friends, oh yeah, no, I'm a monk. It's what I always want to do. I'm going to be a monk for the rest of my life. And they said, oh yeah, we've heard that before. And you go over there, first bit of trouble, and then you'll be back in London. We'll keep a place for you. Never. In all those 51 years, again being honest, I never ever wanted to do anything else than be a monk. It's amazing. It's so easy to disrobe. I've still got a good brain. I know I've got a good brain because one of the Thai ladies, saw her yesterday. She was there yesterday. And she gave me a newspaper. I don't read the newspaper these days, but in that newspaper, and please don't offer this to me, because I've got too many of these now, the cryptic crossword puzzle. I kind of like crossword puzzles, the cryptic ones. And it has these really good clues which you manage to answer. And one of them, a couple of days ago, was they follow one another, one falls, the other breaks. What's the answer? They follow one another, one falls, the other breaks. And the answer is night and day. They follow one another, night falls, day breaks. It's kind of weird. Okay, it's eccentric. Maybe I need a therapist. I enjoy that. And the other one, which you got as well, City Bhutto, he's got some good character. I think one of the reasons why he got it this morning, I think because I talked him into having some condensed milk for his breakfast. It's true. And that one, when all is fair. When is all fair? And the answer is, you tell the answer because you got it this morning. In love and war. All's fair in love and war. It's an old English saying. But when you just take part of it and say, what's the rest of it? It takes a while before you actually can see it. Do you all understand that? And so one of the things, it's not just logic. It's actually seeing kind of deeper than logic. It is literally thinking outside of the box. And I love thinking outside of the box. Because that's what we do in Buddhism. That's where we get insight. How do we solve problems? How can you live your life with no problems at all? Don't we have problems in life to solve? How many problems did the Buddha have? And thinking outside the box, even right here, this is a meditation retreat. How can you meditate deeply and easily? And this is why you experiment, try this, try that. But one of those kind of experiments, just because of your life as a monk, you get to teach in all places in different ways. And I think I mentioned before, I think I mentioned this in the interviews, that once when I was in Singapore and giving some teachings, they asked me, can you please, early in the morning, come to one of these new little businesses they started there, a Buddhist daycare center. And these are really young kids, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think more like a kindergarten school. And they said, one of the nice things, and I always recommend this, is don't ever plan anything. If you plan things, then kind of you're stuck to your plan. So I didn't know what I was going to do to entertain these little kids in Buddhism. It was Wesak Day, and so there's good reason to be there. And so I decided to teach them, the meaning of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Is that what I taught them? But anyway, I taught them meaning of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And they had a big Buddha statue like this in front of them. These were kids, okay? So I told I don't remember what I taught them now. I taught them about the 3 things which happened on Wesak Day. What were the 3 things which happened on Wesak Day? If you know, keep quiet. On the first Wesak Day, what happened? First thing? That means you all know. Because you're keeping quiet. Okay, the Buddha was born. And according to the texts, the tradition, the Buddha took 7 steps and then talked. This is my last life. Do you believe that? A baby can speak? You know, I continue to keep my scientific protocol. I would not believe anything unless there was good evidence to support it. And one day, here in Perth, this Aussie couple came to see me. And this Aussie couple, they weren't Buddhist. And they came to see me because they said, I don't think anyone else would understand what we experienced. We want to see a Buddhist to check this out. And of course, once they start talking like that, I got very interested. I hope you do too. This was kind of a weird experience. And they said that they were young, they had 2 kids, and they just brought their new kid back from the maternity ward. He's only been back home for maybe 1 or 2 days. And when the kid was in a little cot, and their eldest son, they were just busy looking at some newspapers or doing some work or something. And they said to their oldest son, which was called Peter, I may get the names wrong, but that's just the eldest son called Peter, please say good night to your baby brother Paul. And little Peter went over to the cot, leant over, good night, Paul. And then Paul returned the greeting, good night, Peter. He was only a few days old. If you heard that, what would you do? You say, that can't be true, you're shocked. And so both of them put down the pieces of paper they were reading and just stared in awe, this real awe. And then, without any prompting, Peter said that greeting again to his baby brother. Good night, Paul. And then Paul said to his older brother Peter, good night, Peter. They looked at each other in disbelief. That's impossible. Do babies talk? One of the things they said, which was interesting, they said when their a few days old baby said good night, Peter, to his older brother, that he said it in an adult voice, not in a baby voice. And what do we do now? Are we going mad or crazy? But they both heard it very clearly, especially the second time when they're paying full attention. And so that's when they came to see the Buddhist monks. I said, yes, it's quite likely, it does happen. What is happening in those very early days, instead of using the brain, which hasn't really formed, hasn't learned language yet, they're using their mind. It's still active. After a while, the brain gets kind of subsumed by, the mind, which connects with the previous life, gets subsumed by the current brain. And if you do talk, you have to learn the language again. But that was when it was very young. The best example, I can't say, the second best example of babies talking, I couldn't check this out as clearly because it wasn't as personal. It wasn't somebody who actually came and told me what had happened. This was apparently the United States, and I love this story simply because what the baby said. It was in the maternity ward, just at the birth of this kid. So the kid came out of the mum's womb, still attached to the umbilical cord, took one look around and said, "Oh no, not again." And I thought, brilliant. If you get reborn, you can say that. "Oh no, not again." Because imagine, you know what's in front of you when you're born. Trying to get your mum to understand what you want, what you don't want. And she's trying her best, but she doesn't actually know because you can't explain things that easily. And then having to go to school again. Oh my goodness. Would you like to go to school again? You think you're finished, you're done with school. Oh no. If you don't meditate properly on this retreat, you're going to have to go back. And of course the best one was the Buddha. After those experiences, then you started to look back at what you'd read about the Buddha's speaking when he was first born. Why not? After a while, when you mention those stories, and I'm popular enough now that other people hear them, sometimes throughout the world. And when they do, then other people come up to you with their stories. One of the women here, she told me this story, not actually in this retreat, but in Perth, that when she gave birth, still in the hospital, hadn't been released from the hospital yet, and had just finished breastfeeding her new kid, just laying on the bed, just being very happy having a new kid. And then the kid crawled from the breast to the mummy's tummy. And there, this new kid, only a few days old, crossed its legs, put its hands in the meditation position, back straight, closed its eyes, and was quiet. She said, look, honestly, it was meditating. Her mum had never taught her that posture. Or had the baby actually seen that posture? Or felt that posture in the mum's womb? That's more likely. Because I know that quite often, many of the people who come to this place, sometimes they don't live in Perth. So sometimes they download talks, or they listen to the talks, but this is mostly downloading them. This lady, I think she was Sri Lankan, and her husband had a job in Dubai or somewhere. And in that place she wasn't allowed to do any work. So she knew she'd be at home all day. And she was pregnant when she went out there. And she gave birth over in Dubai. But all the time she was biding her time by listening to some of the talks. And of course, what happens next? When she gives birth, she still listens to some talks, but she's kind of busy looking after the kid more. And so with her husband, they managed to get her back into Australia for a quick visit after giving birth. And she brought the baby to see me to get blessed. I'm always very careful when people bring their babies to see me. In the Thai tradition, sometimes they kind of offer the baby to me. It's like making me like the old Godfather idea. And that's always one of the scariest things I have to do as a monk. I have to put the baby, if it was a male baby, in my lap. And I kind of determined, please don't poop. It makes everything smell. I try to get rid of it as quick as possible. I'm being honest with you. I'm a monk, I don't know how to look after babies. But anyway, when she brought this baby in, I still remember this very clearly. I started talking, and then the baby. I looked up. It was very clear to me and the mum, you could recognise my voice. And that's kind of nice. You have a disciple even before they were born. But some of these things, when you see them yourself, sometimes you realize that some of these things in the teachings are actually true. So anyway, this Buddha, walking 7 steps, sorry. You've got to be very careful between these numbers. And I was telling this story over breakfast to Venerable, that sometimes there are things like heavenly beings. Have you seen a heavenly being? Have you heard one? Have you experienced one? There was this story many years ago. This is during the Second World War. And before the Second World War, monks could actually walk from Thailand into Burma, and there's no sort of restrictions at all. If you had a brown robe, bald head, you're free to go wherever you wanted. So this monk was practicing over in Burma, and that's when my ancestors, I'm responsible for this, I realize I've got to pay off a lot of my ancestors' debts, that they went into Burma and they took over Mandalay. And that really gave a big shock to many of the Burmese. Take Rangoon, but Mandalay was much more the heart of Burma. And when that happened, this particular monk was told by his supporters in the monastery where he was staying, you better go back into Thailand quickly. Because at that time Thailand had become subservient to Japan. That's how they survived. And Japan was the enemy. And so if they see a Thai monk in Burma at that time, they will interrogate you quite violently. It's very dangerous. They'll think you're a spy. And so he realized that was, a big problem. So they said, I have to go back into Thailand quickly. But he couldn't go along the main roads, because by that time the British soldiers were patrolling those roads. And they'd arrest him and interrogate him and put him in jail somewhere. So they had to go over the mountains, the back ways. And so off he went, taking a bit of water, and he had a good meal before he left. But there's hardly any villages, especially during that wartime period, on the route between between Burma and Thailand. So after a while he got really hungry and thirsty. And I know that area because I spent a while in that area on my Tudong year. And the mountains, just a real mountains, not just like here. This is a very soft place, Jhana monastery. And we always say, go up into the hills, the Darling Range. And these are not hills, there's a few bumps, that's all. I'm being honest with you. So I know how difficult it is. And so he had to go across the border in these mountains. And there was no villages. This was like really remote area. And as he was walking day after day after day after day after day up and down these steep hills, he could find enough water in the rivers, but food was impossible to get. And he got weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's when he made a resolution. He said, if there are heavenly beings, devas, please help me. I'm not just saying this, I need it to survive. And there are stories of heavenly beings feeding monks, in the old days, in the suttas. So he turned a corner in the path, and there ahead of him, he saw this well-dressed gentleman just standing there. He had the old tiffin cans? Tiffin cans, that little metal basins, stacked up one after the other. Usually about 3 or 4 basins. He had one of these. Now, as a Buddhist monk, we're never supposed to ask for anything. He was a good monk. He never asked for anything. He just walked slowly past, just knowing how weird this was to meet anybody in that part of the jungle. If he did meet anybody, it would usually be just someone in rags, because it's a very, very poor area, and this was wartime. And he couldn't say anything. He just couldn't look ahead. And he walked right past this gentleman. And then he heard the 2 words, Nimon Krap. Those are words of invitation. If in Thailand anybody wants to invite me for something, they say, Nimon Krap. And that's what this gentleman did. He was inviting him. And he had the tiffin can open. And there was food in there, hot food. That had been just prepared for this monk. And it was not jungle food. Jungle food is usually potatoes, because they don't have much rice up in the jungle. Potatoes and things like monkey paws or something. Well, they don't have vegetables up there. Very, very few. And had this beautiful Bangkok curries with the rice and some nice fruit afterwards. And all the time, this is an honest description, he thought this was impossible. Number one, how did this man know he was coming? Number two, how come he had such hot food, nice food for him? How come he was so well dressed? How did he get here? So the monk received the food which was given, which he realized would actually save his life, so he could continue the journey. But then the monk broke one of his rules. The monk couldn't stop himself and asked this mysterious being in the middle of the jungle, "Where did you come from?" You know what this being did? He never answered. He just said, and that became a famous story, how there are such things as heavenly beings and how they can help you. Of course, that was just a story. I wasn't there, that was way before my time. It made a lot of sense and everybody said this was real honesty. So it came when I was on my walkabout in Thailand, where we leave the monastery and go and search for the good monasteries to go to, quiet places, where monks in the past have gone wandering, find nice caves, nice mountains. And this one day, I was walking, it was actually from, I think I already told the story about the ghost cave. That was that cave. I was told by a very well-known monk, there's ghosts in there, you can stay there overnight, but make sure you practice well, because some of his disciples have gone mad in that cave. A real ghost. And when I went there, I was actually looking forward to it, because I mentioned to many of you, I used to go hunting ghosts when I was a student. We weren't afraid of them, we wanted to get more evidence. What is a ghost? What do they do? What can they do? Sometimes, they usually only come out at night time. What do they do during the daytime? Do ghosts get married? And have little kids? Honestly, if any of you see a ghost and you're not afraid of them, interview them. You'll be able to get articles in a New Yorker or whatever other magazine you want to get your article into. Really easy. How many articles do you know, real articles, interviewing ghosts? Why do some ghosts get up to mischief? Anyway, that's an opportunity for you. Oh, can I tell this story? I'm going to go back to being in the jungle in a moment. This is to make sure that none of you will ever miss the opportunity, if you meet a ghost, to make some good karma. This was the story of the tsunami ghost. How many of you know that story? That's all. Crikey. After the tsunami, which hit many countries, there was a lady in Krabi in Thailand. And she had this really clear dream a couple of days after the tsunami had hit. And the dream was, there was an English girl, a young girl, 18 or 19, and the dream went like this. It's amazing that she actually didn't get scared at first. Help me. This image in the dream said, help me, I'm dead. If you heard that clearly, what would you do? You'd probably go on, put more blankets over you. Help me, I'm dead. And she said, I was on the island of Phi Island, just off the coast of Phuket, when the tsunami hit. I had no chance. I'm dead. My mobile phone is on the bottom of the sea. And right now, my mum in England is trying to contact me. She can't. Can you please help me? I want you to please reply to my mother in London to let her know that I'm dead and I love her. And please can you go at the moment, she said, my body is being put in these temporary morgues on Phuket Island. Can you please, they use the monasteries as places where they can store the bodies until the cremation happens. And please, I'm in this temple, can you please go there and get my body cremated? It's dead. I don't want my mother to see me like this. And she said, and after the cremation, let my mother know so she can come and collect my ashes and take them back to London. And then the conversation finished with some numbers. And she remembered everything in this dream. You know that sometimes I said that sometimes you have enough mindfulness, it's easy to remember everything. And she remembered every part of that conversation, including the numbers. And then she, when she came out of that dream and woke up, she woke up her husband laying next to her, who happened to be an Englishman. I really always think that's why that ghost chose her, because she had an Englishman who could understand, what's going on. And the Englishman listened to those numbers and straight away recognized that is a legitimate London telephone number. And so he told the wife, ring the number. If you know Thai culture, no way. You ring it. So the husband rang the telephone number, and it all turned out to be true. There was a mum. She was trying to call her daughter on a holiday on Phi Island, just off Phuket Island in Thailand. But you know what happens when somebody dies, they're close to you? You know that they're dead. Even though they're thousands of miles away. Mothers and children, fathers and children the same. You have that connection, you know that something's really terribly gone wrong. You know they're not alive. She said, I knew that, but thank you. Can you please just go to that morgue and just arrange for my daughter to be cremated. And when this is all done, call me again and I'll come immediately to Thailand to collect the ashes. That's what they did. The following morning, once the dawn broke, they drove up to Phuket Island, found the temple, found the morgue, went inside. It was chaotic. And they managed to find the corpse, with that name. It was all bruised and bashed, but it looked just as she dreamt in the dream. So, because even in Thailand, the authorities were trying to get rid of the bodies as quickly as they could. It was chaotic. So they gave the permission to cremate, and she could ring the mum over in London and say the cremation's happening this afternoon. So the mother could book her flight and come over as soon as possible. And after the cremation, collected the ashes, put them in the box, met the mum at the airport in Phuket, and then cried, hugged, and gave her the ashes. A nice sweet ending. But the sweetest part is yet to come. When they got back to Krabi, where they lived, when they went to bed that night, she had another dream. Those of you who know the story, you should be smiling by now. And this other dream is the same girl again. This time no bruises, no gashes on her. She didn't have a bikini on anymore, sort of torn and stuff. She was wearing this beautiful dress, perfect health. And they say that it was like she'd just been to a spa to get her hair done. Everything was actually perfect. And she smiled at this Thai lady and said, thank you, I can't thank you enough. Look what you've done for me. And she said, thanks again. Here are some more numbers. They gave them some more numbers. And this is a true story, it's not a joke. And after getting the numbers, then the woman woke up, the Thai woman. And she told her husband, woke him up, wrote down those numbers. That's not a telephone number. She said, no, I know what it is. Lottery number. And they won a fortune. So I tell that to each one of you. If ever you see a heavenly being in a dream, or a ghost, whatever, a spirit, don't run away, don't get scared. Please ask for the lottery number first. And then you can run as fast as you want. Would you like to win the lottery? We've got all these monasteries overseas trying to raise money for them and so they can survive. So it's nice to 10%. Ajahn Brahm, stop it. Anyway, back to my story about. These are true stories. Back to my story about getting really hungry. Oh, not hungry. Getting very, very thirsty. Basically dehydrated. Hot weather, walking all day in the mountains in Thailand. And got to a ridge of those mountains, and in the valley there was a village. And I thought, every village I've ever seen in Thailand of that size would always have one of those houses would be the general store. And there they would sell like kerosene, for lighting candles or lighting lights in the evening. Always have cigarettes, I'm afraid, at that time. And they would have other general supplies like rope. And I knew the other thing they would always have, bottles of Pepsi. That's just what people would drink because it was just really hot and give you a boost of energy. I knew they would have them there. And many times they'd offered me one when I was walking through on a hot day. And I said, okay. I always wanted to find out, are there heavenly beings or not? And I made a determination, a resolution. If there are heavenly beings, Davis, can I please have a Pepsi? I'm really thirsty and it's becoming a danger to my health. And I was serious about that. So I made that resolution. And then I walked into the village along the path. And I was a strict monk. When I was walking, as I told you during walking meditation, you keep your eyes about 2 meters in front of you, like a body length in front of you. You don't look to the left, you don't look to the right. You walk at your normal speed, and you never speak or ask for anything. And I went into that village. I went past that building, which was the general store. And when I walked past it, I never said a word, and no one said a word to me. My first thought was, it was worth a try to see if there are heavenly beings. Remember, as a monk, you don't have any money or credit cards or anything. So you just walk straight past. And I thought at first, no, there are no heavenly beings. I'm not going to get a Pepsi today. And when I went past, I heard the sound. Nimon Kwap! That was a word of invitation in Thailand. And I turned around, and this man had a bottle of Pepsi Cola. He got it from the refrigerator in there somehow, and the top was open and the straw was in there. Nimon Kwap. Even then I thought, maybe this is just a coincidence. Even though people had offered me Pepsis before on hot days. But there was another person behind him. Nimon Kwap! Nimon Kwap! Said the third person. Nimon Kwap, the fourth person. That's 4 bottles of open Pepsi Cola. Nimon Kwap! Nimon, 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 Nimon. They offered me 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola. No exaggeration. I counted them all. And I think, I've told you this before, in Thailand the magic number is 9. Always is. If you invite monks to a house dine, you always invite 9 monks. Even, it's such a magic number. I remember as a young monk going to this blessing ceremony for the current king of Thailand. At that time he was just a prince. His marriage. And they'd invited 999 monks. So I was one of those. And the magic number 9 was so well known by me. And somehow I got given 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola. And I put them in front of me on a little table. Okay, I admit it. There are heavenly beings. And I drank a little bit from each bottle of Pepsi Cola. There was enough kids around, and I gave the rest to them. They're very happy at monk. No way I can drink 9 bottles of Pepsi Cola. But I like little stories like that simply because it shows you, if you want to find out whether such beings exist, test it out. Ask the question, make the resolution. If you're a good person, keeping precepts, and you really need it for some reason, it's amazing what help you get and where you get it from. Actually, what was I going to talk about this talk? I don't know. Do you enjoy it when I just go off on these little tangents instead of saying, this is the 4 noble truths, the first noble truth, the second noble truth? I don't know, I remember being a monk, or being a lay person and listening to other monks give talks when I was a lay person. They were very erudite monks, but I would go to sleep. It never actually got your attention. Why being a Buddhist? No, oh yeah, I know what I was going to talk about. I've got 10 minutes to do it. I was teaching these little kids. The first one was, Buddha's being born. And the next one was, the Buddha becoming enlightened. And like many little Buddhist kind of organisations, they always have a Buddha statue there somewhere. So I told these little kids, see the Buddha statue? Yeah. So now remember what it looks like. Now sit down on the ground. They had some cushions. Now, how's the Buddha sitting? Keep your eyes open. And he's sitting down with straight back, and all these little kids all get their back straight. Chin tucked in. And you can either sit like I'm sitting now, just with one foot in front of the other, or cross-legged, or like the Buddha here. I can't see, is that the Burmese tradition? One foot over the other? That's one of which I also usually use. And right hand over the left hand. And this one has got his hand down. But to meditate, it's always right hand over the left hand. And the thumb slightly touching. Okay, and back straight, close your eyes. Now imagine what the Buddha was doing. Just imagine it. Sitting there so peacefully. He's had a very great meal from this lady Sujata. He doesn't need anything at all. It's a peaceful, calm place. And all he's doing is just watching his breath go in, watching his breath go out. Just imagine that. Imagine you've got no worries in the whole world. You don't have to go to any school and pass any exams. You're just free. You don't have to worry about friends who may bully you, or like one kid told me yesterday, he had two sisters, they were twins. And I said, you love them? He said, yes, of course I do, but they're very annoying. Just being honest. And so you have no annoying brothers or sisters, and you're sitting down there quietly, relaxing. I went on like this for about 5 minutes, because kids don't usually have much attention. And I opened my eyes to see, and they were all obviously really content with their eyes closed. And so I carried on for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then afterwards, I was about to take them out of meditation. And the teachers, they looked at me, oh come on. So I carried on for another 5 or 10 minutes. And that was the first time those kids did meditation. Well, and then afterwards I got into trouble. Because it was the parents. Why don't you ever teach us that? So that evening, I had to teach everybody in a big class kindergarten meditation. And it worked. It's like learning how to use your imagination. When was the last time that you used your imagination? Imagine, even though you may be back home in South Korea or Singapore or Colombo or wherever you usually live, you just close your eyes. It's the middle of a busy house. Just imagine you're back in Jhana Grove, or in Bodhinyana Monastery Hall. Or maybe if you've been to these wonderful places in India where the Buddha lived, you imagine you're back there. And imagine you are the Buddha. What it must be like. What's it like to be a Buddha? Imagine you've got no health worries ever again. Because this meditation, it zaps any sort of viruses or bacteria. And so many times, so many stories about cancer just vanishing, literally. Imagine that you're free of all disease, all sickness. You've got no stress or worries ever again. You're totally free. You don't even need to think about the future. Care for the present moment. And that's the best way of looking after your future. You have no worries, no stress. There's nothing you ever need anymore. Nothing. And how beautiful that is. To be free of trying to get somewhere or develop anything. Just being here right now is the very peak. You don't need anything. You don't want anything. You're not even angry at anything. If anybody tries to harm you or hurt you, you just zap them with your loving kindness. And they become your friends. They care for you and protect you. And your job is just to get some fun, some joy, some pleasure in helping others whenever the opportunity comes. You're totally free of anything which is selfish. You're not needy at all anymore. You don't want to control anything. You don't need a job. You don't need savings. You don't have any bills or any debts or any future need, to go into that business thing. Even if you did see a ghost, you just give them loving kindness. You won't ask for any lottery numbers. You're so at peace, so free. And then open your eyes. Could you do that? Was that hard? It works so well. There's this other guy, he moved over to Tasmania some years ago. But I don't know who taught him this, but whoever did needs to have a big pat on the back. Because he could never watch his breath. He'd always get distracted. Whenever he tried to watch the breath, and it didn't feel comfortable at all. So he gave up. And then somebody taught him. This is why I introduced this to those of you who told me this. You find it too difficult to watch your breathing. They taught him, said, don't watch the breath. Imagine you're watching the breath. Just imagine it. You close your eyes, sit down, imagine you're watching the breath. I know you can't do it, just imagine you are. And then he was imagining he's watching the breath. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, the teacher, whose name I don't know, said, what are you watching? And he had to be honest and admit he was watching his breath. It kind of conned him, tricked him into watching the breath. Brilliant. And he really was watching his breath. So any of you who think you can't meditate, just sit down quietly, close your eyes, and imagine what it must be like to be able to meditate. What it must be like just to watch a breath. What it must be like to watch a delightful breath. You'd be surprised how easy it is. And that gets you going in the meditation. And then you carry on. You already have the breath in mind. It's easy to do the rest. I think my only job as a teacher is to basically, the Obama method. Yes, you can. I'm not a politician or support politics at any time, but you can. And it's amazing when that happens. I never thought this could happen to me. And it does. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Did you expect to talk like that? I never did. I didn't expect I was going to talk about all those sorts of things. So anyway, have a wonderful morning. I'll be doing some interviews over there and see how things go. And please give me some feedback if there's something which you think I should be talking about, which I haven't talked about yet. Is there nothing? Great, okay. Same tomorrow. please don't imagine your favourite food and say, if there are heavenly beings, can I have this for lunch today? It has to be important.